Good evening, everyone. My name is Kazim. You may or may not have heard about me, but I used to teach in Uplift Pro also. And I have also been teaching for Hawk International for 3 years, and I did all their videos. Okay, so the Hawk International website does have my videos, yeah, very detailed videos for part one and part two, but it's accessible with some extra payment. That's what I have heard. Okay, so and I've been working in the corporate for about 25 years in Saudi Arabia and in Kazakhstan. Fine, so that's the brief about me, and I'm an Indian CMA as well as a US CMA. Okay, so today's class basically would be about some kind of tips I would give you in order to crack the exam. Okay, uh, to pass, not only pass with good marks. Okay, actually, the highest a student has scored is my student has scored, I can say, is 480, 480. Can you believe it? Okay, and this guy actually he watched my videos.
Wow.
Okay, right. I could have shared that LinkedIn message what he gave me, but I forgot to put it. Anyways, he scored 480. The other guys, other place where I've been teaching, and that person is only 19 years old. Another person, this is, uh, he has scored 460. Okay, in part two. The 480 is also part two. Okay, and for 60 is a 19-year-old guy who doesn't speak very good English and but very determined. So he has been asking me a lot of doubts uh, on WhatsApp, but he was also he watched only my recording. He attended one or two live online classes. Okay. And he's not yet a graduate. So he is doing his graduation through Indira Gandhi Open University. And he's not yet a graduate. And he has scored 460. Why am I telling you these stories? To tell you that it is possible, okay, to score very high, even though the exam appears very difficult. Like many of you must be knowing, many of you might have failed also. I don't know your backgrounds, but even after studies, you would have failed. And it's not going to be that easy. At the same time, it's not as difficult as the Indian professional courses. The Indian professional courses, you go on failing and nothing else. Okay. Very rarely you get through. Fine. But this has a very good, it's a good passing percentage, but still, many of the students do fail. But I gave you a bright spot that there are students who have scored 460, 480 was the highest I've heard of. 452 students of mine have scored. Watching recording, one was live class, live face-to-face class. One was watching the recording. Both scored 450. Okay. So there are some bright sparks in this. Okay, so how did they score and what was their secret? What did they do special? Okay, so first of all, I would like to know from y'all, maybe you can put in the chat box, uh, how many of y'all are giving part one and how many of y'all are giving part two? Already a lot of people are here now, 17 participants. Okay. Yeah, out of that, some are not going to write the exam, but can you just give me briefly so that I know the part one, how many people are writing, and part two, how many people are writing, so that I can go about my lecture. Okay, part one, two, part one, Sahil Agarwal, part one, Nabil, part one, Saurabh, Sauradeep Nandi, part one, are all part one, it looks like. Okay, and yeah, there is Samsung. Your name, Samsung?
Partial name, my name is Suresh.
Okay. Part two. So part two, I
Okay.
think there's only, yeah, right. Anybody else? Okay, part one, part one. Part two. Sauradeep, part two. I thought Sauradeep told me part one. You changed it or something? Or maybe I was mistaken. Anyway, so two, three, part two, part one. I can see majority part one, but part two is also there. Okay, Adil Khan. Okay, in January. Okay, somebody is writing in January, part two, part two. Okay. Now, strange as it might seem, let me show you the passing rates. Okay, I'll share you the passing rates. Just a minute, I'll share it to you in a second. Right. Okay, don't look at all those bars. Look at just the blue color one. Okay, which represents the worldwide scenario. Worldwide scenario. This is for part one, worldwide. The USA, the Americas, and the Europe, of course, have got a very high passing percentage, but we are looking at the world over. Okay, the Middle East is the lowest. Okay, right. This is for part one. Okay, so most of you all are writing part one, and this is for part two. Nearly 50% do pass. Okay, so the results on an average would be somewhere between 40, like somewhere around 40% for both the groups. Okay, if you are talking about both the groups, the average. But if you notice, part one uh, is low. The passing percentage is low. And the higher scores, which I told you about, like I told you some scores like 460, 480, 450, all were scored in part two, not part one. Part one, yes. Some of the good students which I have had have scored like 420, 400. I mean, I have not come across higher than 420. I don't think so. Any of my students. Of course, they have scored. Okay, but my students I'm talking about. Okay. So yeah, somewhere hovering around this. Okay. Many have passed with 360. Okay, many have passed with 360. So it appears that part one is more tougher than part two. It appears, but I wonder why. Because part two syllabus is also quite vast. Okay, part two syllabus is quite vast and quite difficult as well, but still, part two results are low. I'll tell you the reason why. Okay, and where you should exercise some caution. Part one, part one has the following. Okay, section A, external reporting. You know, everything to do with accounting. Okay, everything to do with accounting, 15%. Now, this section takes a long time to study. Okay, you will study. And I don't like teaching this part because, no, not that because it's not interesting. To me, everything is interesting here in CMA, all the subjects in CMA, CPA, everything, I find it very interesting. However, to teach, it is very, very, very time consuming. Okay, because for this mere 15% weightage, by the way, IMA follows this weightage very strictly. I attended a webinar wherein they were telling that they follow this weightage quite, they adhere to it. Though it may appear to you that, you might be getting more questions in one particular section which doesn't have weightage, but no. On the whole, they are going to adhere to this weightage. Okay, it covers about 15% of your exam. Okay, so for this 15%, you're going to study cash flows, you're going to study deferred taxes, you're going to study fixed assets, you're going to study equity, you're going to study revenue recognition, you name it, you're going to study all, whatever you have to do in accounting, except pensions. Okay, the pension accounting, they have left it for CPA, and we are not going to do in CMA, we're not going to do that. Other than that, I think the entire CPA syllabus is being studied here in width, not in great depth like the CPA. Okay. So this is one of the subjects which pulls students down because it takes a lot of their time. It takes time for me to teach. So you'll be spending time in lectures and you'll be spending time in studies, all for 15%, and you cannot leave it. Okay, you cannot leave it. You have to study it. There is no selective study in CMA. Please note, anybody don't try to be adventurous here and try to do selective study. No, it will not work out. You will fail. There's a high probability you will fail. Okay. Section B, planning, budgeting, and forecasting, has a 20% weightage. Good. This part you can score. If you are good with numbers, okay, especially the making of the budgets, it follows the same kind of pattern. If you notice, the preparation of budgets, purchase budget, everything, you have to keep a desired level of ending inventory, and there's a beginning inventory, and you have to find out the purchase or the production. Okay, so that pattern is the same, but regression is quite tough. Probability is tough. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is probability. If you get a lot of probability questions, then it's a tough paper. Okay. Regression also they can ask you some tricky questions. Otherwise, learning curve and everything else, you can score in this subject. It doesn't take too much time to study. And one more thing, let me tell you, statement of cash flows is very important. 100%, I can give you an almost 100%, or sometimes I just say 100%, you will get at least one question on this. I cannot give you a guarantee on anything else. But here, you are going to get a question. I see feedbacks of many students in the past who have written the exam, and everybody has mentioned statement of cash flows. There are some people who have not mentioned, they said that they did not get it. I think they did not recognize the question as statement of cash flows because they were not very, very attentive students. So anybody who has studied a lot and prepared for the exam have always said that statement of cash flows has appeared in the exam. At least one question. Okay. Section B, budgeting. Budgeting, one question would be there. How to prepare a budget. Okay. And nowadays, they are concentrating more on strategy, especially in the essay. Okay, especially in the essay. I will show you the feedbacks in a moment. Okay. So this, not very tough. Okay. Section C, performance management. It is my personal favorite. Okay. It's to do with variance analysis. Okay. It is to do with variance analysis. A 20% weightage in the exam. Right. And if you have attended my lectures or my recording, you will see that I don't follow formulas here. Okay. It all goes by logic and you can solve it very well with logic. What I notice here, they would ask you at least one variance, either word or numbers. Remember, nowadays they're asking you quite a lot of word questions, theory questions. Okay. So they would ask you something, at least some variance would be there, and balanced scorecard, their favorite. Everywhere I hear it. Okay. Balanced scorecard. Be thorough with it. Either in an essay or in a multiple choice, they are going to ask this. I can give you a 90% guarantee, not 100% like statement of cash flows. Okay. Right. So a 90% guarantee because they're asking you every time. And variances, study all the variances, especially they are now asking you mixed variance a lot. Okay, mixed variance a lot. And yeah, and overhead variances. Why? Because it confuses people, especially the fixed overhead. The fixed overhead variance. Okay, so be thorough with it. Material and labor variances are easy, not very difficult. Okay, the mixed variance and the yield variance. Yield variance, I have not seen them ask. but mix and overhead fixed overhead variances, they do ask. Okay. Section D is cost management. Okay. Now in cost management, under the new syllabus, they have done away with process costing. I mean, almost done away with it because there is no calculation of equivalent units of production. Are you guys aware of that? People are writing now. Before, there used to be lengthy calculations for EUP, equivalent units of production. And now, in the 2024 syllabus change, it has been eliminated. I will show you the changes in syllabus also in a short while. Anybody aware of this? Everybody is aware of this, that EUP in process costing is not to be studied, because some people must be studying the old syllabus and they may not be aware of this. Neha, are you aware? And
Yes, sir.
yeah, good. Yes, Nitin is also aware. Yes. I'll show you anyways. So what is the weightage here? 15%. Okay. What is very sure? Again, 100% guarantee. Variable versus absorption costing. This confuses people. The concept is very, very tricky for students to grasp. But once you have grasped it, it's very easy. Okay. So variable versus absorption costing, be sure of one question at least. The other challenging part is activity-based costing. They may or may not ask it, but it's their favorite. And nowadays, shared service allocation, service cost allocation. They're asking that a little bit. Okay. So be very, very thorough with variable versus absorption costing. After studying the basics, attack this. Okay. Balance scorecard. Don't only look at the text, go outside the text. Watch some YouTube videos. Get an extensive knowledge about it. Okay. And so is strategy. Do a general reading. Okay. Especially people who are writing in Jan, Feb have got time. You see, your approach should be in such a way that you should prepare for your syllabus and read other material, even in the newspapers, about currency exchange, about balance of payments, all that will come, which is useful for your part. Do a general reading, extensive study, and as exams near, the study should be more intensive and exam focused. That extensive study, what you do, reading material related to the syllabus, would help you, would support you in asking some surprise questions what you might get in the exam. Okay, right. Anyway, now variable versus absorption costing. And then here is the problem. Section E, internal control. Also 15% weightage. Okay, also 15% weightage. Now, here the problem is the answers will be very, very close. Okay, people I feel fail because of section E, section A, and section F is not, it's also not our core strength of an accountant. It is technology and analytics. Okay, it's not one of our core subjects as such, or core area of expertise. But they are not so severe on that. The questions are tolerable. Okay, but internal control, there is SOD. What is SOD? Segregation of duties, which is very tricky. And of late, from the feedbacks which I've got from students, they ask a lot of questions on SOX and FCPA. Be very thorough with this, with the regulations. Be very thorough with the regulations. Okay? Right. So, SOD, segregation of duties, SOX, FCPA, and the 5 components and 17 principles of internal control. Be thorough, very thorough with these. Systems control also has to be studied. And systems control, when you study, the second part of internal control is systems control. When you study that, that will help you in your section F as well. Okay, it will help you in your section F. technology and analytics as well. Okay. So off late, again, I'm repeating, they're asking you a lot about SOX. No, don't restrict yourself to the text. In the text, they would give you section 302 and section 404, okay, and all those kind of important sections they will give you, okay, about 5 or 6. What you do is go to Wikipedia, okay, it gives you the history of SOX plus all the sections. Do a reading because that would help you in answering any kind of surprise questions they might ask you on SOX. Okay, be thorough with this regulation. They're very fond of it now. As per my latest feedback from a lady who wrote the exam recently. Okay. And this is, the full form of it. So I'm taking for granted that you guys know the full form of all this. Okay. This is supposed to be a tip how to crack the exam. So I take it for granted you studied. So I'm not training you all in this. FCPA. What is FCPA? Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Right. So so this one also has to be studied. Okay, they ask you about that. And yes, that is about internal control. This is the tough part you're going to have. Okay, why? Because you will not remember these easily. So what I suggest, you study this in the last, when it is coming to the end of the exam. When your exam is coming closer. Okay, at that point of time, you study this, revise it, because theory you can forget easily. Okay, so have a good thorough revision on this. Do extensive reading wherever possible. When I say extensive reading, read other material, follow YouTube, etc. Okay, authentic uh, speakers, fine, not anybody else. Right. So section F, technology and analytics. They can ask you anything here, but concentrate on visualization. They're asking on visualization and also, the AI, the blockchain. Okay, these are all the buzzwords these days, right? And robotics, right? Do that. And the various kind of defenses against malware. Okay, the firewalls, the intrusion detection systems, and the hardware controls, the software controls in order to defend, because that is going to be practical for you, for your company as well. The different backup procedures, the the disaster recovery plans. Okay, all those has to be studied because those are all practical, which you would use it in your work as well. Okay, so they would test you on those things. Essay can be asked from any of these. They can ask you, once they had asked you preparation of the statement of cash flows in an essay, preparation, a complete preparation. Okay. They can ask you something about strategy in an essay. Okay. And another candidate for an essay question is the balance scorecard. Okay. And sometimes a mixture of all this. Okay. Say, for example, a question on strategy with something to do with technology and analytics as well. Okay, something put there. They are very good at setting up questions which has a mixture of all these topics, all these sections. Okay, so why am I talking about part one first? The reason being, part one is where the results are lower than part two, and most of you all are writing part one. Okay, right. Now coming to the syllabus change. Any questions first? Let me, anybody having any questions here? Okay. Now, some people always have a doubt on how it is corrected, how the papers are corrected. Okay. It's a weighted score. People are not understanding. I tell you, it's also shrouded in secrecy. IMA doesn't tell you exactly how it's corrected. But remember one thing, guys. Okay. I'll tell you, your strategy is to get as many questions correct as possible. Okay, without bothering about how they are correcting it. Okay, just get as many questions correct as possible. Okay, so your preparation should be thorough. Don't try to find loopholes in how they're evaluating and trying to score more in that way. It doesn't work. Okay. You remember one thing, all questions are graded the same. That means if you have a tough question or an easy question, the marks are the same for it. Surprised? So don't waste more time on a difficult question. Okay, don't waste more time on a difficult question because you would miss out on the easy questions which would come later on. And believe me and trust me, there are some very easy questions. Okay, unbelievably easy and unbelievably tough questions as well. Okay, so if you end up studying, wasting time on the unbelievably tough questions, sometimes it will suck you in. Okay, you're like almost there, you're almost trying to get it. Okay, and then you look at the time, half an hour you spent on one question, and then you start getting nervous and you can't concentrate on anything else. Okay, so in the first 5 minutes maximum, if you don't get a question, flag it, put some answer, and move on. There is a facility to flag it that you will learn in your mock exam. Do at least one mock exam before you go to the exam hall. Do at least one mock just to get the feel of the exam. Don't do too many mocks. I don't know, some faculty might tell you to do plenty mocks, but I tell you, don't do too many mocks because you save the best for your exam. Because see, each mock exam will take you 4 hours. I don't want you to drain out before the exam. Keep that energy before the exam. You understand? Because that's the time the adrenaline is flowing, and then you can sit for 4 hours. Okay. Even chess players follow the same strategy. The day before the match, they are not going to play an intense match. They rest. They rest thoroughly. Okay. And save all that energy for the match. You should do the same. Never lose sleep. Okay. There is this notion that, okay, I'm studying very hard, so I study the whole night and try to give the exam. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. You will be under unnecessary pressure and you cannot think clearly. Because these questions, what they're going to ask you for the exam, are all new. Okay, it is nothing which you have studied in your question bank. No, believe me and trust me, it will all look new to you. But the concept is there. Okay, so you have to look into the concept, fish out the concept. Fine, and try to solve it. So what do you need? You need to be thinking on your feet. You should be thinking at that moment. Okay, it's something like your form for the day. Like in cricket, you say you have a very good form, right? So, or some days you play very well, some days you don't play. Yes, it's like that for the CMA also. Sometimes your mind will run very well, sometimes it won't run. If you want your mind to run very well, sleep well. Okay, don't compromise on sleep. Fine, because questions will be new and you have to think quickly. Okay, time management is of utmost importance. So flag it when you are not getting it and move on, but put some answer. Now, these flag questions will come later after you finish your paper. Okay, so flag it, put some answer and move on. Why am I telling you to put some answer? Because if you don't have time later on to look into that question, at least you marked something and you have a 25% probability of getting it right. 1 out of 4. Okay, 25% probability of getting it right. You understand? So yes, you will do that and they will be easy questions as I tell you. Believe me and trust me, very easy questions, one line. Don't miss out on that. Okay, and carry on with it. They will make you nervous. As per my experience, when I wrote the CMA, that is about 20 years back, okay, I faced like big questions in the beginning and I got fully nervous. Like, I thought, what is this I studied? I'm not able to answer anything. Then looking closely, I came to know, yes, the concept is there and I could answer. And then later, my heartbeat settled down and I moved on. And then I got easy questions and I passed it. Fine. I got easy questions and the difficult questions as well. Later on, I got the confidence to tackle the difficult questions as well. Okay. So yes, don't get nervous. I have known students getting very nervous, sweating all over and failing miserably just because of time management. Okay. Right. So here's the thing. Suppose you finish, now there is 3 hours for the multiple choice questions and 1 hour for the essay questions, right? Totally 4. Fine. Suppose you finish this in 2.5 hours multiple choice, 1.5 will be for your essay, total 4. Okay, so it gets carried forward. Fine. The time. Suppose you finish 2 hours here, you will have 2 hours for your essay. Got it? Right. So you can manage that time, but yeah, your strategy should be to get as many multiple choice questions correct as possible. Okay. There is, of course, weightage for the essay as well. Fine. Suppose you get 100% multiple choice questions correct, let us say, and 0 for the essay, you will not pass. Okay. You will not pass. They have distributed it in a way that, you have to do both. Okay. So as I was telling you, don't spend too much time on a difficult question. Okay. And remember one thing. If you get a difficult paper, difficult as per IMA, you might find all the papers difficult. Okay. Suppose the IMA has, set a difficult paper where fewer people are getting it correct and passing. Don't worry. You need to get lesser questions correct to pass that paper. If you got a difficult paper, you need lesser questions. This is the weighted score secret. Okay. You need lesser questions correct to pass the paper if you have a difficult paper. So don't lose hope. Continue at it. Fight, fight, fight. Okay. At the same time, if you are having an easy paper, okay, if you are having an easy paper, don't become complacent. Don't be overconfident. You need to get more questions correct to pass it. I know of a person who came and told me that, sir, I did the paper very well. I got an unbelievably easy paper. First time I heard anybody tell that, okay, that they got a very easy paper. Fine. So I was very skeptic about it. So he told that I got a very easy paper. The essay was also very easy, no twisting, nothing. Sir, very good paper, sir. I'm very confident. I told, wait, let the results come. Don't celebrate before that, okay? And then the results came. The results came, he passed, but he passed with 360 exactly. He was shocked. He told, I was expecting more than 400. What happened? I don't know. Shall I give it for recorrection? I told, don't be mad. Okay, they might fail you later on. Right? You are got 360, be very happy with it. But this is what has happened to him. He got an easy paper. He needed to get more questions correct to pass the paper. So he just passed it. That's it. Okay. At the same time, if you have a difficult paper, just keep on fighting. You can pass it. Don't lose hope. Okay. Right. So that is about it. Okay. Any questions? I've not spoken too much about the essay, right? See, an essay type of questions, you don't need special preparation for it. Whatever you have studied, the text for the multiple choice question, that knowledge is enough for an essay. Only thing you have to be more descriptive. Okay. So to be descriptive, practice essay always on a computer itself. Okay. Don't practice on paper. Do not take a pen and paper and write and practice essays. Why? You need proper net practice, is it not? How it's going to be in the exam, that is how you have to practice. You're going to type it in the exam, not write it. Okay. So you're going to type it on the computer. I'm sure everybody has computer by now. Okay. So use a Word format, a Word document to write your essay. Try to write the formulas in the Word format because that's how it is going to be in the exam. Okay. That's what you will be doing it. Okay. And yes, do not leave any question unanswered, even in the essay, because there is no negative marks. So no MCQ should be left unanswered. No essay should be left unanswered. At least one-liners should be done. Okay, you will get something. Fine. So at least one-liner should be done. You don't get bogged down and write stories. Right? Write the essay in a point form as much as possible. Write relevant points. Okay. And in an essay, if they ask you a number question, now listen to this very carefully. If they ask you a number cruncher, okay, wherein you have to arrive at a solution with, solving numbers, right? Solve it, give your conclusion, and also write qualitative factors. Okay, qualitative factors. What is qualitative factors? Factors which do not involve numbers, because most of the decisions are taken based on qualitative factors. The heart rules more than the head. Okay. So for example, I'll tell you, you got a capital budgeting question in part 2 against leasing or purchase, and and the numbers favor the purchase. The number favors the purchase. That is the purchase, the total outflow for a purchase or the net benefit from a purchase is better than a lease. And the difference between lease and purchase is not much, let us say, a very small amount, but it is favoring the purchase. Yes, so what you do, write it that it favors the purchase. Numbers say favor the purchase, but then write the qualitative factors of leasing. Leasing gives you flexibility. Okay, it passes on the burden and the risk of obsolescence on the lessor. So if the equipment gets outdated due to technology, you can always get it replaced without investing, without any sunk cost involved. Okay. So all those benefits, the qualitative factors of leasing should be mentioned. And then you put your conclusion. Since the numbers are not too much different, the best decision could be for leasing. See, because in a multiple choice question, there is a one right and a one wrong answer. But in an essay, it all depends on how you are looking at it. And that could change the perspective of the examiner as well. Because essay is one thing which is corrected by a human. The multiple choice is corrected by a machine. Okay. So you have to put in some factors which are not numbers always. So that would give you a lot of weightage. Let me tell you that. And connect real world situations. This opportunity you would have only in an essay. Okay. Connect real world situations. For that, you have to read the newspapers, anything connected to your subject. I always show it in the class. Okay. I have shown, for example, yield curves, the real life yield curves I have shown in the class. Okay, from Times of India newspaper, the Indian bond yield curve versus the US bonds. Okay, US government bonds. Fine. So these kind of things you have to connect wherever there's an opportunity. Okay, it should be in context, of course. That it shouldn't be like the question is asking about London and you're talking about Tokyo, right? It should be in context, right? So that is where you have to connect the real world situation with the question which is asked. Now, these kind of things, what I'm mentioning to you, would see your scores above 400. Otherwise, you're going to get 360. I still hope that everybody passes. Okay. Now, these kind of points which I'm telling you would see your scores high. Okay. So this is what you should remember. And another thing, most important thing, as I told you, you have 10 questions. I always tell this to all my students, 10 questions and 1 minute left. What do? You have 10 MCQs and 1 minute left. What do? Leave them and go to the essay and save that time? Save that 1 minute? What do? Don't even read the questions. Just mark A, B, 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 something, something, something. Don't even read, because if you read, your time is out. Okay. There is a 25% probability of getting something correct out of these 10 questions. So what is 25% out of 10? By the theory of probability, 1 in 4 you will get right? So in 10 questions, what's the probability of you getting it right? You can get 2.5 questions correct, but there's no 2.5, right? So if the theory of probability works in your favor, you can get 3 questions correct. You can't get 10 questions correct. Okay. That is not possible. Okay. So, I mean, it is possible in very, very rare cases. Don't hope for 10 questions correct when you have guessed it. Okay. Or you're very unlucky. You might get one question at least correct. And people who have done this have told me that they got 360 and that could have made the difference between passing and failing. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you here is there's no negative correction. So make full use of it. Do not leave any question unanswered, either essay or multiple choice. Is that clear, guys? Do not forget this tip. Okay. Do not leave any question unanswered. And if you are hard for time, put some answer and move. Okay. Right? Okay. Now, don't do this for the entire paper. Okay. I'm telling you, this is only for when you don't have time, your back is against the wall, you're trapped. Okay. You have 1 minute, 10 questions. Only then do things what I'm telling you like this. Okay. Right. Now, the calculator. Now, there is some controversy on the calculator. Let me just show you some things. What kind of calculator is allowed for the exam? Okay. Just let me tell you. Uh, function calculator. Yeah, I'll share. Now, this is the function calculator I use. Okay. What is it? It's four functions: addition, multiplication, division, subtraction, uh, square roots, two memories. GT function is very useful to calculate present values. Okay. You can calculate present values, not necessarily through the tables. On this four function calculator, also you can get the present value of an annuity, present value for a dollar. I generally show the students how to do it. But some students have complained that they did not allow this for them. They said it was too big. Okay, some students in foreign countries, like in England, for example, one lady wrote in England, and she told they didn't allow. But some people in India have allowed. So there is some kind of miscommunication between the IMA and the Prometric. Okay, so you run the risk of your calculator not being allowed. What I would suggest is one person has done this before. Send a picture to IMA through mail or to WhatsApp or whatever. Get their approval that this is allowed. This particular calculator is allowed, and show it to the Prometric. Otherwise, what they would do is they would give their own calculator. And if they give their own calculator, the problem is you're not used to it. And 9 out of 10 times the quality is going to be bad. Okay. They are not going to give you a fantastic calculator. It is a well used, maybe some kind of old calculator. I don't know. The students have struggled. One girl called me from the examination hall saying that they're not allowing. What can I do? Okay. Saying that they're not allowing this four function calculator. They're saying it's too big. Anyway, she passed. Thankfully, she got the calculator what they gave and she passed. They should allow, but there is a miscommunication. Some people allow it, some people do not. Okay. Then, to calculate complex calculations, you are allowed a BA plus calculator. I'll show you that also. I'm sharing. You are allowed this as well. This would give you, this is one of the allowed calculators by IMA. Okay. But anyway, I tell you, before you take it, just send a picture to IMA, like get their approval in writing and show it to the Prometric. One lady has done that, a chartered accountant. She was a chartered accountant. She did it and they allowed. Okay. See, you can find out the IRR here. It's all good for part 2. NPV, the installment payment. Okay, the future value. Okay, of course, the power of all that you can get it from here. It has got a lot of memories. Okay. So many functions. Of course, you will have to read it. You have to read the manual properly. But let me tell you, this is not necessary. Your four function calculator is more than enough. Okay. This is a luxury, you can say. And again, you might run the risk of it not being allowed in the exam because there's a miscommunication between IMA and the prometric centers. Okay. The other four function calculator, they didn't allow for some students, saying that it was too big. Because now with AI and things like that, people have become more conscious. The examiners, the examining centers have become more, what you call, paranoid. Okay. That, people will copy in some way, they would trick them in some way. Fine. So they are extra cautious. Fine. So these are the two calculators which are allowed for the exam. Okay. Now, let us come to part two. Just tell me, Baswati, if I'm running out of time, okay? If I'm within my time, if I'm just crossing my time limit, just let me know.
Sir,
Okay?
it's absolutely okay. It's absolutely like take your own time.
Okay, okay. Right.
Thank you.
So sometimes I get carried away. Okay, so just let me know.
No, no, that's fine.
Okay. Right. So this is the two calculators which are allowed for the exam. Okay. Right. Now, part two, coming to part two. Okay, part two, I'll tell you, part two is very exciting. Okay, this is where, I don't know, uh, strangely gives very good results, even though the syllabus is vast. Section A, financial statement analysis. Okay, financial statement analysis. How much percentage? 20%. Okay, 20%. Good. You can score in this. Ratios. Okay. Of late, they're asking you about sustainability ratios. Okay. So, yes, but the ratios is the area you can score. There are special issues which are rarely asked. Sometimes they ask it, like foreign exchange transactions. Okay. And quality of earnings and some topics like that, correction of accounting changes, etc. But concentrate on ratios more. See, 75% of your time for either part one or part two should go in solving multiple choice questions. Read a little bit of theory, that's 25%. Get the concept, 25%. 75% of the time should go in solving multiple choice questions. Solve many and don't solve the easy ones. Okay, that doesn't add value. You're uncomfortable with something, solve that. Okay. So section A, uh, financial statement analysis. Section B is vast and tough and abstract. Corporate finance. Also 20%. Okay, there is derivatives, there's bond valuation, there is share valuation. The valuation part concentrate a lot. Bonds and share valuations concentrate a lot. Okay. So that part is generally tested. Derivatives, people spend a lot of time, but sometimes it's asked, sometimes it's not asked. Okay. So, but there's no selective study. You have to study everything. Okay. Right. And international trade, they ask you about that, the balance of payments, the factors that affect exchange rates, all that is asked. 20% weightage. Okay. Vast as ever. Vast. It takes me the most time to complete this. Okay. Section C is my favorite. It is called business. They changed the names from 2024. Before it was decision analysis. Now it's called business decision analysis. Okay. Okay. Now this has 25% weightage, the highest in both part one and part two. Okay. The weightage wise, 25%, because this is the core subject of management accountants. This is our core area of expertise. What I'm told here is, see, it's easy to score in this area, but the questions are very lengthy. That's what the feedback says. Okay. The students get me a feedback saying that the questions are so lengthy that they get fully nervous. What I suggest is read the last line and then read the complete question so that you're focused on what they are asking. So first itself, you're focused, you're removing out the relevant and irrelevant information, because in a question, they would have so many irrelevant information along with relevant information. All professional exams, they do this. Okay. So you have to sift out the irrelevant and take only the relevant information. For that, you read the last line and see what they're asking in the first place. Then read the full question. Questions are lengthy here, but at the same time, good to score. Section D is very, very short. Enterprise Risk Management, ERM. First, it was just called risk management. Now change the name to ERM. Okay, study the components given by COSO, the Committee of Sponsoring Organizations. The components is very important. Okay, and 20 principles here. In internal control, there were components, 5 components. Here also 5 components. Internal control, there were 17 principles. Here there's 20 principles. Okay, study that very well. Studies things like VAR, value at risk, and topics like that. It's not very, very difficult. It's not very, very lengthy. But questions, sometimes they ask a lot of questions on this, even though the weightage for this is 10%. It appears as if they've asked you a lot of questions, but I don't know. They go by some kind of weightage, Maybe the questions are not very tough. So the total weightage is 10%. It can be done very fast, but study this in the end. Okay. Remember the components, study what is ERM, the components, and 20 principle of COSO. Okay. Then section E, capital budgeting. First it was investment decisions. Now it's capital budgeting. What you have to do? You have to study here all NPV, IRR, all the tools, payback, discounted payback. Okay. Everything you have to study. Real options. They will ask you anything out of this. Okay. Percentage, 10%. Okay, 10%. And then section F, professional ethics. Do not underestimate this. Okay, professional ethics, you might study it like a story, but don't. You have to study the 4 standards, the principles, the standards and principles, and not only memorizing the standard and principles, you have to apply it. That is the main problem. Apply it to case studies. So this is a very good candidate. This area is good, for an essay. IMA asks a lot of essay questions in this area. They would mix it up with some other like corporate finance with ethics. Okay, so do not underestimate this. Practice a lot of questions. Anyway, the scenario will be different in the exam. Okay, so the weightage for this is 15%, more than capital budgeting. More than capital budgeting or risk management. The weightage is 15%. Okay. Right. So this is how it goes for both part 1 and part 2. It's quite here. You will score here. Okay. You will score here. These are the scoring areas. If you are good at capital budgeting, yes, some are very tough questions. You could score here as well. Don't be overconfident and be sure that you'll score here, because this is tricky. Okay. They would ask you sometimes a lot of questions on this. See, 15% weightage. Do not underestimate professional ethics. Study it in the end, study it well. Do a lot of case studies and think of ways of answering it, something which others may not put in. Those are the things might get you marks. Okay. Now, SOX also gives you, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act also gives you some guidelines, or there is a regulation on ethics or code of ethics. Try to connect that also. Okay, so the ethics part of SOX, that also you study. Okay, And they ask you here in professional ethics in part 2, they have asked you UKBA, the United Kingdom Bribery Act. I have heard students ask, tell me that they have asked UKBA also in section F, part 2. And its comparison with the FCPA, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. This is the US Act, this is the UK Act. Okay, now, something else you should note, the what do you call those, moral principles have been eliminated. Okay, there's some parts eliminated from professional ethics, but they included ethics on data ethics. Okay, to do with data privacy, etc. Okay, how to handle data of other people. What is the ethical way of doing it? Okay, so that part you should note in professional ethics. That's the new part which is introduced. Okay, so that data ethics pertaining to governance of data. So how would you handle data in an ethical manner? For example, you cannot publish somebody's medical records, okay, and make it public. You cannot put it on social media, for example. Okay, let's say Sayed Nabil's medical record, whatever it might be. We cannot put it onto social media without his permission. Okay, so those kind of things has to be noted. Fine. And another thing they ask very quite often in this area is the fraud triangle. Fraud triangle. Okay. Right. So please note, this is quite tested quite often. Fraud triangle. Okay, I'm telling you all this not out of thin air, out of what feedback students have given me. Over the years, I always ask them over phone, over WhatsApp, okay, to tell. Of course, it's not ethical to disclose the questions which has appeared in the exam. IMA forbids that. You can get your registration cancelled if they come to know that. But how will they come to know? I don't know, but it is a risk. So you can just tell what was tested instead of mentioning the question verbatim. Okay. So instead of doing that, you can mention what was tested, what topic was mentioned. That can be discussed among you all. But anyway, do it confidentially. Okay. Right. So this is it. Okay. Now one thing. Since you're IMA members, do you get a magazine called Strategic Finance? Anybody is getting this magazine? Many people don't know about this. Strategic Finance. If you're a member of the IMA, which you have to be before you write the exam, do you get strategic finance? Anybody here among these 18 people who have got strategic finance? This is a magazine which comes free of cost. To me, hard copies were posted. It was posted to me when I was in Saudi Arabia, to my Saudi address, as well as in my Kazakhstan address. I have got it. Okay. So only Nitin says yes, others don't know. I think now they're giving soft copies or what, I'm not sure. You have to check it out. Read the articles in this. You don't have to read every article. Okay. Whatever is coming, I think it's a monthly magazine. Whatever is coming, you read it. Okay. Okay. This is the link for it. Okay. If you get soft copy, you can even request hard copy. Let us see what they will say. Okay. Because I used to get hard copies. Okay. If they say no, okay, no. If they say yes, they'll post it to you. Okay. Right. So you can ask IMA anything. They reply very fast. Okay. Right. So strategic finance, you get some topics here, like, the modern trends in activity-based costing. That is tested sometimes in the exam, because especially in the essay, because IMA wants to see whether you're reading something out of the text. You understood? And a shining example I'll give you. In one of the strategic finance issues, they had asked about fraud triangle. No, they had discussed fraud triangle. In that same window, in the exam, fraud triangle appears in the essay. Okay, so if you have been reading strategic finance, you would have written a fantastic answer based on this fraud triangle. Okay, ethical issues, data governance, data ethics, all those will be covered in the strategic finance. As I told you, some articles may not interest you, don't read it. Some articles will be connected to your syllabus, to your learning outcome statements, like some ratio analysis of some industry. Okay, read it. Okay, not only will it be interesting, because as you study the CMA, one thing I have noticed, as you study the CMA, financial topics, both in the newspapers, yes, Nitin, that is fraud triangle. Yes, you're right. Now, both in the newspapers or any journal, what you read, you begin to understand. Before it would be Greek and Latin to you. Okay, any financial news, you wouldn't make sense. But once you're studying for the CMA, everything starts making sense. One lady had told me once, uh, she was my online student. She told, nowadays everything is interesting to me. Okay, she reads about the budget. She understands everything what they're talking about. She reads the section about economics. She understands whatever the Reserve Bank governor says, she is understanding. Okay, so that makes it more interesting. CMA is such a course, it deals with a width more than like the CPA, it is dealing with depth. In CPA, for example, you go in so deep as if there's no tomorrow. You become an expert in it. CMA gives you width of knowledge. It touches everything. Okay, so you would understand everything. You got it? So read a lot. Be a voracious reader. So go into strategic finance. If you are not getting, ask IMA to send you. Okay, if you are a member, you have a right to this magazine. Okay, request for a hard copy also and see what they say, because I was getting it. Okay, now for feedbacks. Finally, I would give you feedbacks of students. Okay, we'll just go through it. Feedback of part 1, for example. I have plenty, but we'll not go through everything. Don't worry, we'll see through the latest one. For example, which was the latest one here? Part 1, June 25. This is the latest one. 1 minute, I'll share it again. Okay, look at this. This is what a person who wrote, I'm not disclosing the name, gave this, and she passed. Okay, she passed with 420. Cash flow statement. You see, again, I told you, no, 100%. It's linked with IS and BS, income statement and balance sheet. This is for the essay. Benefits of flexible and master budget. ERP benefits. Now, guys who are working, put in your practical experience here. It will fetch you a lot of marks. As I told you, essays are corrected by a human being. Impress him, and he will get impressed with practical examples. Okay. Limitations of income statement and balance sheet. You have a lot of scope to show your knowledge here. Okay, a lot of scope. You can put in some very good points. Here, strategic plan. It would have been a case study probably, or it would have been, I doubt it would have give me the steps of strategic plan. It may not be like that. They would have connected with a case study. Management by exception. Flexible budget variance calculation, section C. Cash flow from operation calculation. I told you, no, cash flow is 100%. Okay, right. So be very thorough with it. Spend a lot of time on cash flow. It's a sure question. There's no doubt about it. Okay. Now, the multiple choice. Section A, operating activities, cash flow from operating activities. Current assets, depreciation. Okay. Section B, flexible budget. They're very fond of flexible budget. It comes in section B as well as section C, flexible budget. Flexible budget variances are based on section C variances are based on flexible budget. Okay. Types of budget, that is ZBB, ABB, incremental, zero based, those kind. To identify which industry it would suit probably. Mission statement. I have many mission statements of many real companies. Okay, I generally show it in the class. Cash collection, I mean to find out how much the cash was collected, and master budget summary, I think. Okay. Okay, section C, variance analysis, ROI, RI calculation, all the variances, all the variances. And as I told you, look here, balance scorecard, very fond of it. They're very fond of it. I told you 100% question. Yes, section D, always they ask this. Section E, look, what did I tell you? All this is SOX. Okay, public company accounting oversight board, board of directors responsibility, disaster recovery plan. Disaster recovery plan will come in section E as well as section F. Okay, data mining, section F, data visualization, regression, data life cycle, value chain, all these. Section F, I don't believe it is going to be so tough in part 1. Okay. But since it's not our core area of expertise, you need coaching, you need some study in this. Okay. This is the latest feedback. Let us go to part 2. Okay. I have plenty. I have got history from 2018 or even further, but I'm not going to show you all that. Okay. Because we don't have the time and it's not relevant also. But you will come to know the trend, what they're asking. Okay. So now let me look at the feedback of part 2. Feedback part 2. Okay. Let me share. Okay. This is the latest. Got by WhatsApp. From WhatsApp, I copied it onto a Word document. Okay. So here, it was done in May 2025. The latest, hot. Okay. Section A, liquidity, solvency, growth rate. This is what they call sustainable growth rate. They're asking a lot of questions on that these days. Okay, the sustainable growth rate ratio. Special issue, they have asked something. He has not mentioned what. Special issue can be currency, foreign exchange transactions and consolidation. It could be economic profit. It could be quality of earnings. It could be accounting corrections. Okay, right. Like, retrospective effect, prospective effect, etc. Anything could be asked. Okay. Section B, which is corporate finance, he says tested very less on MCQ. Appreciation and depreciation, I don't know what he means here. Marginal cost of capital, then bonds. Okay. So yeah. Section C, that is decision analysis. Okay, that is, CVP analysis, tested very heavily. Almost all questions from all topics. Section D, ERM, risk management, strategies, risk response. Section E, NPV, IRR, payback, discounted payback, everything. Everything, in fact. Okay, section F, please note, IMA statement of professional ethics, vendor fraud. Okay. What he means by 3 pairs of sustainability, maybe some spelling mistake. I don't know. Okay. That I'm not very sure. So they have asked you the standard and the statement of professional ethics. Okay. Right. Essay topics, sustainable growth in net income, merger and acquisitions, vertical and horizontal. Okay. Cost-based pricing in section C. Okay. Wherein I think there will be transfer pricing as well. Risk response, fraud triangle. Fraud triangle. What did I tell you? Okay. Asked in an essay. This is not a very, very clear feedback. Some things I'm not understanding also, but he spoke to me on the phone. So that time I understood. Now I forgot it. Okay. Right. Then if you're talking about a little bit older one, okay, section A. Okay, now other thing, the market ratios, the EPS calculation is very important. You have to study that. Okay. then weighted average cost of capital, or no, weighted average common shares. Okay, weighted average of common shares for the for the EPS calculation. Dividend payout, return on equity, dividend yield, all that. So all the ratios. And section B, CAPM, valuation, do valuation. Okay. Word questions also was asked. Something about dividends, cost of capital. Section C, this is a more detailed analysis. Okay, CVP analysis, 4 questions. Margin of safety, special order, disinvestment, make or buy, pricing questions. This can change from exam to exam. Okay. Section D, ERM. ERM has to be studied. Okay, a lot of indirect questions, yes, told. Section E, capital investment, IRR, NPV, everything should be studied. No, don't leave anything there. Okay, now, please note. Here, ethics-related questions, these are moral sciences, the deontology, all that is not in the syllabus anymore. Okay, you have to, no moral principles have to be studied. Okay, only the standards and principles of IMA. Standard violation, yes. Deontology, all that is not there now. And ethic considerations in an organization, okay. Right, so that's the MCQ part. Essay part, common size financial statements. You must have studied in section A. Okay, that is a favorite for an essay, for you to analyze that. One problem-based question means he means numbers. 2 types of profitability ratios. Ethic violation scenario, they do not mention if it's standard or principle. Investment bank roles. This is not the first time they're asking this. The roles of an investment bank. What is their function? Mergers and acquisitions, and participating or helping in IPOs. Okay. Market making for swaps. Okay. All those issues. Disadvantages of ratios, the demerits of ratios. Okay. Then BEP calculation, break-even point, product life cycle, qualitative factors of special orders, qualitative factors. Okay, that is, if you take a special order and you are not supplying to your regular loyal customer, you might lose that customer forever. Okay, so there's a loss of goodwill. So those kind of things. Earnings yield calculation, identify the cost from a scenario. They might have given a case study to identify the cost. I had time constraints due to some lengthy problem questions, due to which I had to randomly select the options of a few questions towards the end. I've forgotten who is this person. Probably he would have passed. Okay, so you got the idea what they are testing. What are the favorite topics? What is frequently tested? I have already told you that. Okay. So I think with that, we can conclude our session today. And if you have any questions for me, okay, you can ask me. Okay, so training will be, the classes will be starting at Uplift, and they will be giving you intensive training on all these topics. Okay, with real life examples. Okay, so yeah, any questions you all have? Anybody here? You're free to ask. I kept some time for that. Otherwise, I've been talking continuously. Now is the time for some interaction. Yes. Anybody? No questions? If you have no questions, then we will wind up the class. Amitabh, you want to speak something?
Yeah, I think firstly, Kazim sir, it was a wonderful session. I'm not been a student for CMA, but I could understand and relate each of the sections. So I think the students have definitely benefited a lot. Might be the nature is always to be quiet, and that is why people are not saying. But I'll say that at least you can appreciate sir for being a continuously speaking for the last 1.5 years or 1.5 hours, sorry, continuously. And he has given an incredible, I think, detailed perspective of both part one and part two. And I myself have not studied CMA, but I'm someone who has studied CP. I can relate a lot of topics and I can relate the strategy. I think that's the best part of it. And I think all of you who are preparing for different windows, the best part, just sir said, is that to strategize how you prepare for the exams. And it's very important to know firstly the subjects that you are going to study before you start solving the MCQs and the essay questions, because there is always the concept that plays the key role. uh,
Yes.
that's the key sir was trying to mention, because even if you, and that is why I think he said that there is no point in solving several mock tests if you are not clear with your concepts. And I totally go with it. I think mock should only be done to get yourself habituated with the time management and to get habituated to sitting in a seat for 4 hours, because it's difficult, our mind and our body is always trying to make us work away from sitting at a place. But overall, I think, sir, this is incredible. It's an honor that I am sharing the platform with you, because I'm very much new to this platform of teaching students. But incredibly, I really enjoyed the session. And I hope that each of the students have benefited tremendously. And I think this particular recording would be shared from Uplift platform. So anyone who wants to revisit it, do revisit it, because it will immensely help all of you. And thanks a lot from my side. So
You're
I think,
most welcome, sir. It's my pleasure. My pleasure. I love uh, advising students about it. One question, sir, is it okay if we answer all the theoretical questions first and later? Yes, you can do anything. Okay. You can do anything as you like. Okay. Just manage your time well. That's it. So he is asking whether he can answer all the theoretical questions first and later come to the practical questions. Okay. Yes, I think I did something like that when I was writing. Okay, when I saw the questions and it made me nervous, I went further and saw if there's some easy ones. I did that and then came back. Okay, so that's what. It will save time. Yes, because sometimes the easy ones you will answer first. Yeah. Any other question? Okay, sir. I will leave. You can take over. You can advise the students anything if they want to.
no,
Okay.
Thank you,
thank,
Kasim sir.
Oh, hello,
I keep
Annie. How are
many
you?
of my Avinash College students joined the session. I keep talking about you. I tell them that sir is a pioneer in this CMA training industry, and then he does it so well. You should get a exposure of his session. And luckily, it was scheduled today, and then I asked all my students to join. It was um, very knowledgeable, and then it's a pleasure to join your session anytime. And then you talk with such great ease, and the way you deliver the content, as if it feels like it is so very easy to do CMA. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, madam, and thank you for your kind words.
right,
A
Okay.
pleasure, sir.
Okay.
great, I think.
Right, right.
Thank you, sir, and thank
Thanks,
you
thanks,
everyone for joining. Yep.
thank you.
Thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
everybody.
Thanks a lot, Kazim sir. Thanks a lot, Annie ma'am, Amitav sir. And thank you all the students for joining in the Friday evening. Hope it is beneficial and you have learned something from this. If you want the recording, please get back to me. I'll be there to help you out. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody. Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Night. Good
Thank you,
night.
everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Good night.